Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Metaphysical Hour. I'm Julia Cannon, and this is my co-host, Tracie Mahan. And it has been a mayhem.
Yes, I brought the mayhem.
Yes, mayhem on the mayhem.
If you are actually watching us, it means you got on one of those places that is streaming live, and I'm going to be over here looking this way, trying to get it on the other pages.
Yeah,
so
got it. If anybody knows, the astrologers out there, we know Mercury's out of retrograde, but there's got to be something else going on because this is weird what was just happening here. So.
Understatement.
And we want to blame it on something.
Yeah, because, why not?
Why not? So we're trying to see if we can get it at least shared with the other pages so you can all see it and then comment or, give us questions and things like that. We can all share. Anyway. If you're in there and you're watching us, go ahead and start telling us where you're from, where you're at right now, where you're shining your light, because that is huge. We want to know what part of the grid you're lighting up.
That's right.
Yes.
Grid work. You should introduce your daughter.
Oh, I should. The magnificent, the wonderful, my wonderful person that part of me that I am so proud of, and she is our moderator on this group, is my daughter, Tiffany. Tiffany, take a bow.
She's not even going to get on here, is she?
Not touching that one. Anyway, you'll hear her when she comes in with any questions. So she'll be looking for your questions. So if you have something, make sure you put Tiffany, get her attention. You have something you want to ask.
Yeah, in capital letters.
I'm very proud of my daughter. I'm very excited that she's helping us. And hey, she just got off of a big trip. She just flew in and she's still doing this. And I gave her an out.
Really?
I did. And she did.
Aw, Tiffins, thanks.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go old school and say, let's get everybody over to the BBS radio TV, because I am trying to share this on pages, and let me tell you what. Oh, it shared it to my
do whatever works, and then as long as Tiffany knows where to look.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, share. It's been a while since I tried to share things. Send a messenger, share to a page. That's what I want. Let's try that.
You notice I'm not doing any of the techie stuff.
I'm doing this,
and I gave her an out.
Hey, hold on.
Yay! I remember we used to have those days, so we would do that. Bear with us, guys. We're gonna get this going. This is why we're late.
I apologize. I was getting our show coming in this screen and I didn't know how to get it to stop. We do have a few live listeners, and now we got a radio over to Laura's page. So I can help watch comments. We're live on Dolores' page through BBS Radio.
Okay.
So if you are commenting over there, I'm going to say please open the video up and then comment. I think that's how that works, and I'll see it better that way instead of just
does that take them over to BBS then?
Comment. I think that's how that works. And I gotta, there's the echo. I'm not real sure what we're going to do about this. We're going to do our best to get your comments because this is all about answering your questions. So
absolutely,
it'll be fun. All right. So,
Tracie, what's been going on this week?
Insanity.
Not exactly. Whose energy is doing this?
It's a good question. Okay, I got to switch back to my own profile. That might help. And then, okay, I'm going to mute myself because I think I'm going to make a lot of noise by trying to open this again. Hold on. Julia is going to tell you a really good story about
what am I going to tell a story about?
Fairy portals. Why not fairy portals?
Fairy portals. How about recognizing fairies? There are
Oh.
fairy portals too. That's interesting because I've never thought about fairy portals, but that makes sense, and we can talk about that. But something else that I have noticed is see if you can recognize people and their energies. And fairies are an easy one. They've started popping out at me over the last few years. And it's just really, and a lot of people, a lot of us do this when we're together in groups or anything. You're like, oh wow, that's a fairy. That one's a fairy. It's like there's a fairy energy. So it's like somewhere in their background, somewhere in their other lives, they were a fairy, or they are a fairy. See, it's all now. So they're acting out that fairy part, and then that's carrying into this life. Maybe they needed that some reason, or something was applying there, and that's why we were picking it up. But it's really fun. I can detect fairy energy. I can detect second wave energy. That one's an easy one to pick up. What else? Let's see. Oh, dragon. You're good at dragons, detecting dragons. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get some ET mojo going.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say this. We do have some questions coming in on the one that Tiffany's moderating, so that's great.
Wonderful.
And then I've got the BBS radio one up here. So hopefully we've got every avenue, but it's very important if you are watching on the Dolores Cannon Facebook page, you need to click on that and open it up. Don't comment down below the little thing. You got to click on it and open it up in the BBS radio. That's where I'm going to see your comments. And we've got a few people in here saying hello. And so, yay. Yeah, we got Lenny, we got Tracie, Harper, we've got Lucas, and then we've got a bunch from the other, we got Kelly and Venus and Adriana. So we got some people coming in. Ask your questions. Woo! I know this isn't streaming the way we want it to, but we'll get there. Okay, so fairy portals, you're recognizing the portals or fairies.
I'm recognizing the fairy energy, but fairy portals, tell us more about that, because one of the things I get to go do is on Sunday I'm going camping, and I get to be up in the forest in Oregon, which, they're gorgeous forests out there. And so we're going to be taking our bikes and riding some trails, but it's really fun because there are a lot of little fairy bubbles up there. And so when you're out there just you feel the difference. If you're paying attention, it'll feel like, oh, this energy feels a little different than it did over there. But for me, it's just kind of like all of a sudden there's a knowing that there's this little portal, or this gateway, if you will, into the other dimension, and that they can go back and forth in this area, or Weren't we on a trip and we went on something, and then you were like, this is a fairy portal? It feels like that. Seems like you said something.
It's a good chance that I do that a lot. So
yeah, and I'm trying to remember, I think that was the one we were out by Austin, and we were on that big hill, and we thought we were going to go over the whole thing. Quickly figured out.
Maybe that's something we should talk about. Overachievers. Julia and I are not allowed on mountains.
We need to stay off of, especially those like stone hills.
Yeah, any stone, rock, mountain. Yeah, we're not allowed anymore.
But that one ended up having what was it that Sarah experienced? She went into like beneath the earth, and it was like a base or something there, or into something.
Yeah, she felt like she went into the inner earth kind of a thing going on there. And really, Tiffany should be on here talking with us, because she was there to experience that with us too.
Yes, she was.
And Piper, you could bring your dog in too. But yeah, so sensing the different dimensions. And one of the things that has been a conversation more than like a session, but a conversation, is that more and more people are starting to get sensitive to that kind of stuff, or are realizing that kind of stuff, seeing it, that kind of thing, and remembering seeing it, or not doubting that feeling anymore. So they're really starting to remember. and those dreamy states. They've been asking to remember if they've been on a ship or in another dimension or something like that. And a lot of people are starting to remember those things, and it's kind of fun. But then they'll be like, so why am I having this happen and that happen? It's like, because you asked to remember.
You ask, exactly. And I was going to say, it's all you have to do is ask. I'd like to be aware. I'd like to remember. I'd like whatever. And then it will start happening. But I did the same thing. I said, I want to be aware. And then I started being aware when things were happening. I'm like, why am I awake right now? You wanted to be aware. Oh, yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, it'll start happening. And you'll be, why is this happening to me? You asked for it.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of aware, somebody just sent me on Messenger, and it popped up. And so I was looking, going, oh, who's messaging? But they sent a picture of the sun with rings around it. And it's like, I always, when I'm looking at my own meditations or my own journey work, the sun is always a portal. It's like a hub for portals. And it's just kind of a neat thing. And then we're talking portals, and somebody sent me a picture of this.
Very cool.
Yeah. So Tiffany, are you able to watch the BBS radio page, or are you focusing on the restream?
I'm flipping through several pages.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
One that popped up, and I'm gonna it's not gonna be a verbatim because I lost it. I don't know why it's not working, but it said, how do I attract Fae to my garden?
Oh.
Yeah. You're the Fae expert, Tracie. And if
I'm gonna naked in the garden. Get out there and dance naked. No. In my experience, people that have had the Fae come in or are very connected, you're probably from there.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a garden that you love.
You have that kind of interest. Exactly.
Yeah. But when you are kind to your plants and you're planting flowers and you're like, I had a friend that she would go get little toy houses, little fairy houses, and put them out in her trees and out in the, like, you would look in her bushes and there would be a whole little campsite set up for the fairies in there. And you could just tell, I mean, her plants were thriving. Everything's thriving because she's just communicating with them all the time. So talk to them, call them in, invite them, put things out there that are pretty. The flowers, they like the flowers, but they like all the things, if it's a vegetable garden, whatever it is. Even create some form of little portal, or if you see an area that feels like it could be a portal to you, then create that. I go sit at my friend Mindy's house, and it's like, there's like this creek that runs by one side, and you're surrounded by these trees, and then she's got some pasture out to the one side, and it's like, nope, it's over here, and you can just feel it. And when we looked, it was like the trees almost formed this circle. The way that the shrubs and the trees grew together, it almost had like a circular opening, and we're like, that's it. And I kind of feel like they will show you, like, branches will start to droop over like arches, and it's almost like you got to go through this archway to continue on the nature path or whatever. And it's like, oh, there it is, they made it right there. So create something maybe that's like a special entry into your garden that they can come through. Play with them, they'll tell you, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. It's like, I have one little fairy house that I got at a market here. It's like a craft fair, and it was so funny because it's kind of funky looking, but the guy was like, this is the fairy house, it's the only one I've ever done. And I just, I was just playing with something. Well, when he said it's the only one, that gets my attention. I'm like, well, it's my so I put it out there. It's just a pretty orange red, and gives me color in the garden, and it's got a little fairy on it.
Yeah, so cool. When we went camping in that rainstorm, but we, the family camp out in March, I think it was, something like that. It was spring break. Anyways, I had this campsite, and I don't know if I shared this with you, but we had a couple of days that were really nice, and we're standing outside of the campsite, and I dropped something. And so I go to pick it up. And when I did, underneath one of the shrubs, somebody had put a little fairy, little
Oh.
metal fairy figurine in there.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh my gosh, if I hadn't dropped this thing, I would have never seen that. It was kind of tucked away. And I
Yeah.
thought, they're letting me know they're here because, and that's one of the things they kind of do too, is they'll hide things or bump things or, they're kind of mischievous sometimes. They can be. That's probably why I like them. But maybe they're the ones that were playing with our internet today and our connections. Maybe that's what's going on. Okay, you guys, you can let our connections happen now. But anyway, yeah, they're a fun energy. They're playful, but they do want us to, they're trying to teach us to respect the earth and to be kind to the plants and not be so clumsy. Oh, I did have a QHHT session around this. I think I shared it before, but the client that came in, she was like, I went to this fairy gathering, like this fae gathering, and it was almost like she was channeling this fairy, right? And so, but she was saying things that she didn't even realize she said to all these people, and they're just like, what's wrong with you? But she was like, you're doing that wrong. That's not what the fairies like, blah, 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 blah. So her question was, why did that happen to me?
Yeah.
Well, the answer was that, so this group of people, they loved the fairies. So they went to the forest and they all put their tents up and they all made their little village out of, fairy village while they were going to camp out for a few days. None of them asked. They didn't ask, is it okay if we come in and join you? They didn't, and they're stomping around and they're beating down the grass and all the flowers and the pretty things, put their things up. And of course they're making altars. And so then they're putting things on the altar for them. And she said, I'm going around going, fairies don't like that. We don't having these conversations with people, and she doesn't even know why she's doing it. And so what had happened was it was a masculine fairy, and he saw that she was pretty open as a channel. And so he used her to tell the people how they really felt about what was happening. And what it boiled down to was that they weren't being respectful, even though their whole idea was to just go spend time with the fairies. They didn't meditate on it. They didn't ask, may we join you? They came in and they invaded their space. It'd be like somebody not even knocking on your door, but just walking in.
Yeah.
And unpacking right there and just staying for a while and getting in your food and breaking your things. And
but
so
they're going to pay you and they're going to do it. So they mean well. I mean, they're like, we're respecting them. In their mind, they're like, but they're not invited.
Yeah. They had good intentions. They wanted to spend time with you, but they didn't ask first. So yeah, the uninvited guest. It was really interesting to get that perspective from this very energy that had come through and was telling these people, you don't need to be here. You can leave and all these things. It was just funny.
When you said that, yeah, it was reminding me when I was in Ireland and I was going out and their work, because they very much they acknowledge the fairies and they're very aware of them. And I remember several places I went and they were like, you've got to stop here and you need to ask permission. And I forgot about all that. Yeah, it's like, and it wasn't that there was anything really different or anything about how it looked, but you could feel it. A lot of places I'll go, you can feel like there's a doorway or something. It's like, whoa, no, wait a minute, we got to ask permission.
I had that happen in Sedona when we were walking to the petroglyphs, and I was talking to my friend, and then bam, I just stopped like I had ran into a wall.
Yeah.
She goes, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, we must be getting close. And she goes, yeah, it's around the corner. And I said, we need to ask permission and reset our energy. We're not in the right space. And as soon as we just settled into that, boom, I was able to walk again. And I was like, I'd never had anything like that happen before. Nothing in front of me, but I can't move. And I'm like,
yeah, you can't, you feel resistance. That's like, and you gotta stop.
Yeah, it's good lessons though. We forget, we get so caught up and in the hustle bustle that we forget that let's ask some permission. And we're invading other spaces, and to have some respect for that. For the animals, for the plants, for the fairies, for all of life. So
all of life, yes. Yeah, I'm doing some trimming on some of my trees, and as we're doing that, it's like, as we're talking about this, I was talking to this one because it's getting trimmed way back, and I'm like, I was talking to it. It's like, this is gonna make you better. We just got to get. It was way overgrown, so it's come
Yes.
back a lot further than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I've been sitting in my backyard going, I need to trim these back. And actually, I want to move a couple of things because of the design of the flower beds that was there when I moved in. And I'm like, it's not really conducive to what we want to do back here. But in order to change it, I got to move 3 plants that have been there forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's like, I don't want them to, be uprooted and
You
not.
have to tell them what you're doing. You have to explain what's going on, and then it'll be better.
Yeah, I want
You
to
just
give
do it, yank them out of the ground and put them no telling what. You
yeah,
got to talk to them.
exactly. So, and isn't that cool that we're at a time in our
Yeah.
in our lives and our world where we're starting to understand that we need to communicate with our pets, with our
Yeah.
plants, with our lawn, with the bees, with all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of hearts and things coming up.
Very cool.
Do we have more questions, Tiffany?
Ding dong.
Oh,
we
cheers.
have one, but actually I'm gonna ask my own question.
Okay.
You're talking about needing to talk to yourself, and I know earlier this week we had this conversation, Mom, about what about things with your body? I guess how does that filter in?
What do you mean as far as?
I guess just like anything that may be going on with your body, or maybe you did something
Talk
to your body.
Yeah. Yeah, if you did something to it, or you're about to do something to it, like a tattoo or a piercing, or I don't know, anything else that might be odd for it. It's something unusual for it. Definitely talk to your body. Let it know what you're about to do. Let it know what's going on, because otherwise it's shock. And it might have reactions to it, because it's the body going, what? It's fighting it. It's resisting.
Especially if it's
That's
invasive like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So talk to your body. I mean, like I say, it's another one of these. It's the body listens. This is your universe. And it's listening, and something like that. Imagine the same thing. You do something. You have good intentions. It's like, I'm going to do this. I think this would be fun, but the body's not aware that it's happening or it's coming, and then it happens, and it's like, what's going on? I'm here trying to protect this body. I'm here trying to keep it whole and in balance and all these things. And what are you doing? I don't know what's happening. And I don't know, and it's freaking out. And so you want to talk to your body, tell it what you're doing and whatever else around it. I'm getting ready to do this because I think this might be fun to do. It might be cool, whatever, whatever justification you need to put around it.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to that whole respect of all the things. I mean, we are a little multiverse right here.
Yes.
In the quantum field of our cells and
right, absolutely.
Up and very fun. All right.
Very good.
Anything else?
Well, kind of to go back to asking for permission, there's questions about, should we always ask for permission? And when we ask, how do we know that it is okay to enter the area as to know they approve? It's funny. It's like something releases, and you just know. There's an inner knowing, and it doesn't take very long. And you ask, like some of the times people told me, you need to ask permission to come in here. Other times it's like what we were saying, you feel something. It's like there's a resistance or something. It's like, whoa. And it's just a no. Again, listen to you. You'll feel it, and just trust yourself to feel it. There's a knowing inside of you that just goes, wait a minute, there's something here. There's something off, or there's something whatever. And it's like, oh, maybe I need to ask permission. Think about what you're doing and where you're going and what's happening there. And then that may come in. And that's all you have to do is, may I please come in? And it's within a few seconds. It'll just
ease, all of a sudden you can just move. You just have a knowing again. Okay, it's released.
Yeah.
It's real simple.
That's stuff that we should, I've been taught that my entire psychic career. Ask permission, whether you're working with someone else or you're remote viewing or clearing a house or doing whatever kind of work you're doing.
Yeah.
You just go in and do I have permission to do this? And
so what you're saying is all the time then.
Yeah, kind of. Pretty much.
Can't hurt.
No.
You'll definitely hit it.
Yeah.
If you're doing
I just remember I had gone to a coffee shop with a friend of mine who was also psychic, and we're sitting there and he's just looking around the room and he's like, oh, that person's got this color aura and that person, I can tell they're uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. And this must be going on for them. And and he's like trying to read everybody in the coffee shop. I said, what are you doing? He goes, don't you think it's fun to just sit at a public place and just see what you pick up on people? I said, no, you don't have permission to do that. Yeah. That's not okay. How would you like it if someone was doing that to you? It's like, that's just not nice. And my mentor, she goes, well, that's like having someone go through your underwear drawer. She always cracked me up with the way she would, but it's true.
No, that's true.
Yeah. It's like, that's true. She goes, they didn't ask permission. She didn't like those shows that they put on TV because they make it look like the person just walks right up and starts talking to them and starts giving them all this information in a public place, without their permission. And it's like, that's awful. It's like, if that's what they're actually doing, then that is awful. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be pulling them aside. They should be asking if they can be in that energy. Right. But anyways, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So there again, it's that respect across the board. I mean, that's with other people, but it's across the board. It's beings in general. So whether they're in this plane or any other dimension and plane, that's where you'll get it all by asking permission. It's not like every step you make, you have to ask permission to make that step. It's when you're entering something. And that's what I'm saying. You will know. There's a knowing that happens there.
Yeah. Don't go to the coffee shop and read the people next. It's like, unless you asked them if you could, whatever. But yeah, it's kind of common sense. You'll know when. But that if you want to play with the fairies, ask permission. They'll come. They love to.
They will come, and that's one of the ways to get them to come is by respecting them.
I had a client years ago. Gosh, I'm trying to remember what podcast I had at the time. But anyway, she wanted to talk to angels. So we were connecting over, how does she get more communication with the angels? And we'd work on it. And she would still struggle. And finally, one day I'm just sitting there looking at it going, if she can't talk to the angels, who can she talk to? And all the fairies show up. Like, oh, okay. And so I said to her, I said, do you feel like you connect with the fairies? And she goes, oh, I love the fairies. She goes, I said, do you have a lot of plants in your house? And she goes, yeah, I fill my house with plants. And in fact, she was having a hard time sleeping. And I found out she had a bunch of plants in her bedroom. And the fairies were in there all night. And so that's why she wasn't able to sleep so well. So she made an agreement with them because she still wanted the plants in there. So she had a conversation with them saying, I'm trying to sleep. So I need you not to be in there during those hours. But anyways, after that, then she found out she was connected to what? The dragons. And she was actually a dragon keeper from the fairy realm. And her life got real interesting after we figured out why it wasn't the angels she was connecting with, because they kept going, oh, you need to be over here. Yeah. But because we had an agenda, we didn't let that go for a while. It took a couple of times before we finally figured out, maybe we should just ask what you're supposed to connect to. And that's when it all started to come through. So anyways, that was a fun one.
That's very cool. Now I'm going to ask something because you made an opening here about the dragons and then somebody being a fairy and dragon. So what connection, if any, are you finding with dragons and fairies?
We've got an infinite amount of universes, multiverses, all the things. So it can be any connection you want it to be. But there is a realm that holds the fairy, wizard, magic, dragons, unicorns.
Okay.
They're all in one. It's like a very magical, and for our experience, it would be very magical to go there. But that's where there's a collective. But there is also an individual dragon realm where there's floating islands and waterfalls, and it's so beautiful. Whenever my dragon takes me there, it's like you just want to hang out.
Oh, that sounds just like the Avatar, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, when I saw Avatar, I'm like, that's what the dragon realm looks like. So, yeah, very, very similar to what they did with Avatar. And it makes you wonder how many people see these things. And I love it when an artist gets the information, because then they can make it all come to life, for everybody. But before Avatar ever came out, I was seeing the dragon realm with the floating islands and the waterfalls and it was neat to see this big island floating, and then the water would come down to this more planety, the one major island or planet, and there wouldn't be that many of them. They'd be scattered. And then there was this canyon where the dragons, there was a waterfall that go down this canyon, and they'd live in the caves in the canyon, and there was thousands of them in there. That's my vision of the dragon realm. But then they can also take you to that fairy realm that has all the mystical, magical creatures.
Okay.
So you've got the sprites, the fairies, the elves, the gnomes, and so on.
I was going to ask about the gnomes too a while ago when you're talking about the gardens, because they're the ones, they work in the woods and things like that too, right? So what can you tell about them? I mean, this is really cool. I love. I'm just going to talk all the nature spirits.
Do you want my gnome story?
Yes.
Okay. I love my life, by the way. These things are so fun when they happen. So again, these are kind of older stories, but there was a friend of mine. This is how old this was. My son just turned 18 in October. I was pregnant with him when this story came. So anyways, this friend calls me and she says, something's in my house. She goes, I have an evil elf in my house. And she goes, even my husband wants me at this point to call you because now he's seen it.
Okay.
And he's like, he was a non-believer. And this is what she told me. She goes, yeah, he was upstairs in the theater room, and he heard one of the kids run downstairs, and their kids were still little. And he was trying to figure out why were they up? So he got up and went downstairs, and nobody was downstairs. So he went back upstairs, and they were all sleeping. So that freaked him out. So he went in their bedroom, woke her up, and said, call your weird friend and ask her to tune into what's in this house. So she did. And I tell you what, I wish they would make a Disney movie out of this one, because what was happening is, so they had relocated because he was an anesthesiologist, and they bought this house out in the woods and had a little property, and it had a little creek that ran by it, just gorgeous house. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is they cut down this gnome's tree.
Oh,
yeah. But he would have to run through their house and then go under the house to get to where his tree was. And so he was always running through the house. Well, he was annoyed by that, so he was making mischief for them. And like, she was really experiencing the mischief, because she was I think at that time she was a stay-home mom with the kids. So she was home all the time, and like, she's feeling something touch her. She's like physical things were happening. And so she was getting a little freaked out. Anyways, it was because she was calling it the evil elf. It didn't like that, obviously, because that's not what it was, for one. No. So the first thing it does is says, quit calling me the evil elf. This is the message I'm giving. I'm a gnome, and you built your house over mine. And she goes, well, we're not the ones that built it. And so as we got into it, basically, and the weird part about it was, I said, okay, and I had never been in her house. I said, he's saying that you go into the entry, into the doorway, and there's a hall. And she goes, yeah. And I said, okay, I want you to go stand where he's saying, by the door. And she goes, okay, I'm by the door. And I said, now walk forward And she's walking forward and he says, now, in my head. And I said, now. And she stops. I said, that's where his tree was. And she just went, and she's like, oh, she goes, this is so weird. Okay. And anyways, so then now that he had a voice, he was like, I love your kids. I love to watch them because they're all little, and he goes, but you guys built, your home was built over top of my home and I don't have anywhere to live. And so I said, well, can we find you a new tree? And he said, I would love that. So she took her kids to the craft store and they went and got all the little fairy things, the little doors and windows and stuff.
Right.
And he said he wanted to have a view of the backyard so he could watch the kids play, but he would love to be by the water. And they went and found him a tree and they gave him a driveway and a little garage. And it was so cute. And she took pictures of it and sent it to me. And anyways, so he was all excited that they were going to help him and that they were going to do it together with him. And so they do that. And then, I don't know, a few weeks went by, a month or so, and I contacted her. I said, how's it going over there? And she goes, not a peep since we found him his new place. And the kids go over and talk to the tree and, and they play in the yard and he can see the water. He can see the backyard. So he was happy and everything settled down in the house. So respect the gnomes home. But yeah, they take care of the forest and they love our trees, and then they love us too if we're respectful. So, we work with them. But what are those cartoons that they came out with, like the Fern Gully and stuff like that, where they're cutting down the trees and you feel it just in that cartoon. You're like, oh my God, no, we can't be cutting down trees. Well, then I live out here in a place where, it's a logger's haven out here, and I'm seeing trucks with trees go, logs go by, and I'm like, oh, it was traumatizing after watching Fern Gully.
Yeah. So. Well, when there was a neighbor that was, because I live in the woods too, and there was a neighbor that was cutting down, they were logging over there, and you could just hear them, and they kind of come up close to the property line here. And I could actually, my trees were shuddering. I could feel them just like what's going on. So I was talking to them, I was like, you're not getting touched. That's over there. I'm so sorry it's happening, because they're all connected. I'm sorry that's happening, but it will not.
Yeah, they don't know borders.
No.
And property lines. Yeah.
So yeah, they're aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to nature.
Exactly. So, do we have time for another question?
Yeah, because we'll go over a little bit. Hopefully they'll let us, because we started late.
Yeah, maybe he'll chime in and let us know if we need to wrap it up. Okay, we can go over 5. Okay, cool. All right, so Tiffany. Ding dong.
So changing topics, but this individual said they recently began level 1 QHHT, and within a day I had a vision and visitation, all new for me. Is this normal?
Especially if it was Dolores. Yeah.
I mean, because you started the course, you're into that information, you're already opening yourself up, so imagine that, you're and then you're hearing mom talking in the course. I'm not sure how far you are, but you're already being introduced to new ideas, new things. And so, this is a doorway for you.
And congratulations on level 1.
Absolutely. Did strange things happen to you, Tracie, when you started and continued?
I don't know. Did any of the stories I just tell seem strange? Yeah, I was already having strange things happen, so of course it increased it. But yeah, I think, well, my very first session I talked to a dragon, so yeah. And I learned about the boy.
You got to be open-minded. I mean, you really do. To do QHHT, you have no expectations and be very open-minded, because you don't know what's going to happen, where they're going to go.
You're going to probably get everything. So, yeah. It's
very cool, though.
Yeah, very good ride. Enjoy those little visitations and special things.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
And
I think that's what a lot of people, it's like, this happened, what, and they get kind of scared of it. And it's like, these are just other things that we have access to, you know, we're just becoming more aware of them. So when you're in the middle of it, if you want to know more about it, ask questions. It's okay.
And in my head, I keep hearing, where would I do that? So if you are a practitioner, Julia's website, QHHTofficial.com, when your profile is on there, you have access to a forum where you can ask questions. Please use it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a great resource to get answers and share ideas. So very cool.
Right.
All right. Any more questions?
Well, I'm going to follow up with, could you explain what QHHT is?
Very good. Quantum healing hypnosis technique that my mother, Dolores Cannon, and Tiffany's grandmother. So she developed it, created it, and developed it out. And then we're continuing on with it since she passed. Keep it going. This is a wonderful, beautiful technique that helps you to connect with that part of yourself that has all the answers. And that's what I mean. It's like, so you've got to be open-minded. You've got to be, because you can really have some very cool experiences and you're finding out who you really are and what you're all about and why you're here, you know, because that's usually, that's like the number one question is, who am I and why am I here?
Yeah. And then your head goes.
Yeah. Right. So this is a beautiful technique to get you there. And if you want to have a session, you go to the site and you can find a practitioner. There's actually a menu button that says find a practitioner. And you look in your area or wherever you're willing to travel to and see who resonates with you. Do your due diligence and see who feels right to you. If you want to become a practitioner, if you have that passion factor that you want to help people and help them get their answers, and because answers bring healing. So this is a beautiful way to see people heal themselves, is by getting their information. So if you have that desire to help people, then at the site you will see information on the level 1 course. And so you can actually take the course, and Tracie has a code that she can give you that will give you 10% off.
10% off. The magic is real. All one word. The magic is real. That'll get you 10% off. And that'll be a great kickstart to an amazing new chapter of life.
Yes.
Yeah. Just always, every session. I've done hundreds now. It's like every session. It's like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to learn today. Yes. Because it's always something. Where are we going? What's it going to be today? And, you know, it's just, it never stops being amazing when someone walks in and they're, you know, oh, this is going on. And they walk out like, wow, I feel so much lighter and better. It's like, oh, I love this work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Transformational.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it's really cool. She left a really cool legacy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And she just keeps getting more and more popular too. But she knows. Everyone I talk to, they're like,
she's right in the middle of it.
Right. They're like, is it normal to dream about Dolores after doing sessions? Yeah. She's everywhere. So yeah. That's so cool. All right. One more question. Maybe we need
this person asked, do you feel these sessions are also healing for the practitioner?
Yes. That was an easy question. As a practitioner, I feel like every session is some form of mirror for me and where I'm at and what I'm going through. There's been times where I swear to God, my child is sitting across from me and I'm getting a deeper understanding of their behavior. Why did they do the thing they did, or what they might be feeling that they're not sharing with me, you know? And it's like, oh my gosh, I bet my kid's going through that, you know? And it's like, wow, so much healing for the practitioner, always.
Yes, always. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that way it's, it's a symbiotic relationship that's going on here. So you're both benefiting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right. Still one more, Tiff.
Yeah.
These are kind of heavy, but we'll see. Okay. If we signed up for our experience on Earth, knowing what we're going hold on, what we're going to live and go through from before we are born, how does that work with also having the ability to create any experience we want to?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because some people think, well, I'm stuck here because this is my fate. And it's like, I have they gave me a picture, and I draw it a lot of times. It's where we have this blueprint of what we want to accomplish when we come in. So there's specific things that we have in our blueprint, we'll say, in our life that we want to accomplish. So there's that they have to happen. We could call those the fated things. Those have to happen. Those are certain meetings, those are certain events, whatever. Those have to happen. Everything else is experiences to have, to learn from, to enjoy, to whatever, but they're experiences to have. And so those are the ones, when those are happening, it's then, what do you want to do with that? What do you want, how do you want to record that experience? How do you want to respond to that experience? How do you want to go from here? So things will work around the things that you have fated. Those are going to happen no matter what. Those meetings, those whatever. But the events, the other things are all shifting and changing based on what you are projecting out there and how you choose to respond to things and react and take them on. So yeah, so it's like, they make movies on this a lot. I love how when they do this, like you said, when artists can grab something and put it into a visual form for us. And you can see like some of them where they'll show a life being lived on different planes, made with different decisions that they made. And like that, you can see that certain events still happen, but other things around them are all changing. See, that's because those are decisions that were being made. That's what's happening. And it's all shifting.
I got the cutest visual in my head when Tiffany asked that question. And it was like when parents have their little babies in diapers and they put them on the ground, there's like all the parents are on the other side and they release the babies and they got to kind of coach them in to see which baby's going to get across the line first. And I was like, oh, I get it. So that's like our higher selves trying to coach us to the end of the line. Come on, you can do it. Okay, no, don't stop there. Come on. Even though we have a plan, we have free will.
Yes.
So as much as we'd like, but my favorite one is the GPS definition of it, where you're starting from this point, you're trying to get to that point, and you set in GPS, and then you realize you need to get gas, or you got hungry, right. You go veer off, and then it
recalculates
right back. Yeah,
recalculating. So, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's like the picture I draw is a maze where you're trying to get through the maze, and you have certain things, but then you have offshoots where you run around. I love the GPS because we do that. You know, we don't just make a beeline straight to where we're going. We take offshoots and we have other trips.
There's off ramps, man.
Mm-hmm. Got to recalculate.
You got to go get your drink and your snack. This is for the ride.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, now we're getting the signal to wrap it up. So, Julia, how do people find practitioners, become a practitioner, or go to the retreat?
Yeah, absolutely. The retreat. We should say something about that really quick. We're calling it retreat now so that everybody understands you do not have to be a QHHT practitioner to come and join us. Everybody is welcome. If you are listening, you're one of us, so it's like-minded people. You can get together with these people that get you. So we have these retreats. We'll have 3 a year around the world. And this one is in Ibiza, Spain, October 4th to 9th. Really, really exciting. Fun stuff that we'll be doing there. But main thing is that we're all together. So if you want to get together with us, and all 3 of us are going to be there. So anyway, if you want to get together with us and with your fellow fairies and gnomes and
we're bringing them all.
Then come on. Anyway, so that information's on there, but it's at QHHTofficial.com. You can find a practitioner, you can become a practitioner, you can go to retreats, so fun.
Yay, it's all there. Perfect.
All there. Yes, and we need to go.
Yeah.
I think so. Oh, we sang one more minute. Okay, Tracie, how do they find you?
You can find me at traciemahan.com, TraciEMAHAN.com, or QHHTofficial.com. And yes, the magic is real, gets you 10% off. So go join the family.
Absolutely. And if you want to understand better about what your body is trying to tell you, go to juliacannon.com. I think we got everybody in there. Tracie, Tiffany, anything you want to say?
Nope, all good here.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, everybody. We love you.
Bye, everyone.